Hello everyone, it's the Pace Chaser again. Welcome to another one of my videos. This hopefully will be the first of a two-part series looking at this model bus. A Resin Specialist 1/76 scale Volvo Ailsa with Alexander R-Type body, a model of London Transport vehicle number V3. So in this first part I'm going to do it like a normal model review video, so we'll talk a bit about the history of the rail bus and then we'll have a look around the model, see what's good and what isn't. And I'll talk about price as best as I can. I'll explain that a little bit later on. And then in the second part, we'll hopefully look at the restored vehicle once I've done some work to it. As you can see, it's been in the wars. There's various bits of it that are missing. So I'm going to do it up and that will form the basis of the second part, hopefully looking at the restored vehicle. If part 2 doesn't appear, you'll know what's happened. I've started work on it and it's fallen to pieces and ended up in my spares box, but hopefully that won't happen. So this bus was produced by Resin Specialist, who also trade sometimes under the name of Jotus. I've also seen them referred to as Resin 1 in various sources, but I've never seen a model that's been released under that name. They only seem to trade under Jotus or Resin Specialist. They're a Hong Kong based manufacturer, but in 2009 they expanded into the UK market, and the first prototype for the UK market was this bus V3. They've also done a London AEC Renown LT type, a London AEC Region ST type, the front-engined Routemaster FRM1, a Leyland Cub, again a London prototype. They did an Optare Spectra. They've done some Irish prototypes, a CIE-bodied Atlantean and the Bombardier double-decker. They did the BEA Airport Coach, the 1.5 deck type vehicle. As the name of the company suggests, the models are made out of resin. But they did do some metal ones. They did a series of Dennis Dragons in Stagecoach Magic Bus livery, and they were actually made from metal, but they've more recently gone back to producing resin models again. The most recent one they've done was the Mancunian style Atlantean. Some of their releases have been on the open market, including this one, and some of them have been commissioned by model dealers. For example, the Mancunian Atlantean that I just mentioned was commissioned by TTC Diecast and was sold exclusively through them. But this model was available on the open market from the various different dealers that sell Resin Specialist products. So this model is catalogue number RS76600/1. It was released in September 2009, and as we said, it was the first model for the UK market that Resin Specialist did. So it's a model, as we said earlier on, of London Transport V3, registration A103SUU, a Volvo Ailsa with Alexander R-Type body. The Ailsa was a front-engined chassis, but designed for driver-only operation, so it had a front entrance and a front engine. In 1984, London Transport bought 3 of them for evaluation, numbers V1, V2 and V3. V1 and V2 were quite conventional vehicles for London at the time. They had the front entrance, and they had an exit door in the centre, just about there. Oh, there's a windscreen just falling out, that's great, isn't it? But yeah, so V1 and V2 were fairly conventional. As you can see, V3 was not. It had the front entrance door, but it also had a rear exit and it had a second staircase. V1 and V2 only had one staircase at the front, where this had its first staircase, but this bus also had a rear staircase. And the idea was to improve passenger flow through the bus. So you got on at the front, paid the driver, made your way into the bus, and when you wanted to get off, you got off at the back. If you went upstairs, you were supposed to go up the front staircase and come down the rear one. And the idea was that passengers getting off the bus didn't get in the way of those getting on. It wasn't unique. Back in 1968, Walsall Corporation had taken delivery of a Daimler double-decker that had the same layout. That bus had the back platform monitored by CCTV, but unfortunately CCTV wasn't very good in 1968. And they couldn't really see anything, so it always ran with a conductor. CCTV technology hadn't really moved on by 1984, so V3 had a system of mirrors instead. It didn't have cameras, it had mirrors. But again, the view of the back platform wasn't really very good, and the union refused to allow it to work with just a driver because the driver couldn't see the rear door properly. So when it did eventually enter traffic, it entered service with a conductor. The wrangling about it took 11 months, so it entered service 11 months after the V1 and V2 had done. It went into traffic in March 1985, and as I said, it worked with a conductor. A year later, in 1986, it was transferred to Potter's Bar Garage, who converted it to single door. They panelled over the rear door. but it retained the second staircase, and it just ran then as a normal driver-only bus, just with the front door in use. In August 1992, disaster struck it. One stormy night it got blown off the road and finished up rolling onto its side and impaled on a tree, so it was withdrawn. In November of 1992 it was sold to PVS of Carlton, who resold it to the operator Black Prince of Morley, who we've met before. I did a review of a model of one of their Scanias, the Britbus Scania R-Type. If I think on, I'll put the link to that video in the description to this one. Now at the time, Black Prince operated quite a lot of Volvo Ailsas, and V3 was bought for spare parts. But when it arrived at Black Prince, the owner, Brian Crowther, had a look round it and didn't have the heart to break it up with it being so unique, so we decided to try and put it back into service. The rebuild of it took 12 years, which was no reflection on Black Prince. It just had to be fitted around the day-to-day jobs of running a bus company. So work was only done on it when people had spare time to do it, really. And it came back into service in September 2004 with Black Prince, fully rebuilt. The rest of the Ailsas had long gone. It was unique in the fleet by that stage. I've just got a picture there of the bus in early 2005 in service with Black Prince, just passing the Corn Exchange in Leeds. You can see the quality of the rebuild. You'd never believe it had been a write-off, basically. Now, at the time this came back into service in 2004, I lived in Morley, not in the part that Black Prince served, but I could get their buses and walk down from the town centre. So I went to try and find V3. Now, if you look on the internet, it's quite strange. It's always shown on Route 751 in pictures, which was Moortown to East End Park, but in actual fact it spent most of its time on Route 54 from Island Wood in North Leeds through the city centre to Morley. So what I did, I worked in Leeds city centre at the time, so if I finished an early turn sometime in the afternoon, I'd walk down to the market's bus stop and wait for the 54 to come along and see if it was V3. And you could see the bus turning into Vicar Lane from the hedgerow in the distance. You could normally just see the sort of upper part of the offside top deck because of the traffic and the distance. So you'd see an R-Type hove into view and you think, oh great, and it'd turn the corner and you'd realise it was one of the Scanias they operated, because the Scanias had fixed windows, and as you can see V3 had opening vents in the front. But anyway, after quite a few weeks of this happening, one day the R-Type hove into view, and then when it turned the corner I could see the opening windows and it was V3, and I got a ride on it. So I always kind of wanted a model of it after that. I really enjoyed the ride. It was a unique bus. It still had both staircases, even though it only had one door, and it was a very unique vehicle. So I wanted a model of it, and when I saw this come out I thought, oh yeah, you know, I'd love one of those, but they were really expensive. Hence why I've got a slightly cheaper one that needs doing up. Just to finish the history of the rail bus, Black Prince sold out to First in July of 2005, but Brian Crowther retained V3 initially as a preservation piece, and then it was sold into private preservation. It was sold to Roger Wright of Blue Triangle at Rainham in Essex, and it's still owned by Roger Wright as part of his more recent venture, the London Bus Company. So it's still a preserved vehicle with them. It's still very much around, and it can be seen on the rally circuit. It sometimes goes back up to Morley, I believe, for various Black Prince running days and things, which is nice to see. So that's the history of the rail vehicle. Let's have a look at the model. So what I'll do is I'll have a look round in the normal way that I do on these model review videos, and then at the end of it, after I've done the pricing, we'll have another look round, see what it needs doing to make it display case ready again. But we start with the front. As always, the upper deck front is pretty good. The shape of it looks as it should do for an Alexander R-Type. Put my teeth in. The front window, the shape again is good. So the opening vent's nicely modelled. There's a bit of relief to them as well. They're not just painted on. They are sort of moulded in as well, as is the central dividing bar there. This is in the condition it went into service. Apparently when it was first delivered it only had a near side opening vent, but before they actually put it into service they put the offside one in as well. The reason for that was that the Ailsa didn't usually have a front upper deck seat, so that you can see in the interior there isn't actually a seat on the front upper deck offside. So that's why it didn't have an opening window when it was delivered. The between decks panel is good. The destination blind is behind glazing as it should be. On Route 77A to Euston, which is the route it initially entered service in 1985. The windscreen is a good shape. I'll just hold it loosely into the hole So I just managed to knock it out there. The front grille captures the look of the Ailsa very well. The large grille was a feature of the Ailsa. It's got the Ailsa badge on it and the pay conductor sign that would slide down to reveal the word in pay driver, but obviously it wouldn't be used in driver only form when it had its second door. The lights look pretty good. There's a representation of the reinforcement in the glass there, which looks a little bit strange, but not too bad. And again, it captures the look of the Ailsa quite well. The lights kind of huddling at the side of this massive grille. The front registration plate is correctly in a recess, and that all looks very good. Nice little feature as well. The tax disc and operator license disc holders in the windscreen there. And you can see the driver's rear view mirror as well. Go around to the near side, just ignoring the damage for a little bit. You can see the cove panels are quite a good shape. The windows are about the right size. The opening vents again are nicely modelled. Again, there's some relief to those as well. They're not just painted on. And the panel lines and things like that. The three-piece door that was a feature of the Ailsa. There wasn't room on the platform with the engine cover intruding into the platform area to put a normal four-leaf door on. So they had this three-leaf one, which is nicely captured. The step looks good. The wheel arches are nice. The wheels look good as well. Nice level of detail on them. The back door is a two-piece door, as it should be. It's actually, I have got it. It's in this little package along with some of the windows that have fallen out. But as you can see, the door has fallen off for the time being. It does lead me to a point about these. This isn't the first one of these models I've had, but it's the first one I've kind of kept. I did have a CIE Atlantean, and I had a front entrance Routemaster as well. But I sold them on because I didn't dare take them off the base out of the box or do anything with them because they were so expensive. I trekked myself to them. I just didn't dare to touch them. But it does lead me to a problem with these models. They are expensive because the small runs and things, and that's absolutely fine. But as you can see, the build quality of them isn't actually very good. I don't know if you can see on the picture, but the sort of resin's a bit warped. The shape isn't quite square. It's kind of, the roof line dips down towards the front a little bit. And there's a little bit of kind of sort of ridging or waving in the middle there. It kind of dips down and back up again. Again, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but so it's not quite square. It's warped a little bit. And obviously all these windows have fallen out. I'm not sure what's happened to this bus before I bought it. Obviously I bought it in this condition. But I'm guessing that it's not been kicked about or anything. It's just been stood on a shelf. And yet some of the windows have dropped out. The door's fallen off. And it is a bit worrying, really. You know, if you want to take it off its base and put it on your shelf or display case or on a diorama, you do run the risk of things falling off it. And really, when you've paid a lot of money for it, that shouldn't be happening. So it is a bit of a cautionary tale on these models. But anyway, we'll go back to the look around. So we'll go around to the rear. The vent above the emergency exit there is really nicely done. It's you can see, hopefully you can see on the picture, that the actual grille is modelled as well into it, and the surround is in relief. That looks really good. The emergency exit itself is the right shape and size. That looks pretty decent. Again, the rear number blind behind the glazing, as is the registration plate. Registration plate not particularly clear, but still not bad. Because of the second staircase at the back, V3 had this arrangement of emergency exit with the door in the middle and a couple of small windows. Again, that's nicely modelled. The rear lights look pretty good. There should be a panel over there. Again, that's in that little packet of parts that I've got separately. That just blanks that off, but you can see the screw to undo to take it apart if you wanted to. Round to the offside, you can see blank panels for the two staircases. Again, it's pretty much similar to the near side. Nice shape and size, panel lines done nicely. The wheels looking good. Not quite square. You see the front wheel there, it's at a slight angle. Again, another build quality issue really. But all in all, it's pretty good. You've got the fuel filler there. The fuel tanks on the Ailsa are at the back to try and distribute the weight a bit more. Obviously the engine was at the front and it put a lot of weight onto the front axle. So they put the fuel tanks at the back to try and distribute it out a little bit. Got the driver's sliding door there. It actually looks like it might slide, but I don't think it does. But that was the they had an offside door for the driver because where the engine was, it wasn't possible to put a door in from the platform area into the cab. A lot of operators or drivers prefer to get in via the platform and just climb over the engine cover to get into the cab. But they had an offside door. Some of them, like the London ones, had a sliding door, as you can see here, and some had a hinged door. But that's nicely modelled, again with the driver's signalling window there, and you've got the little step to help the driver to get in. Not much to report on the roof, as there isn't normally on an R-Type, just the panel lines nicely modelled in. A bit of basic detail on the chassis there, not much to write home about, but little bits and pieces of the engine, various tanks, pipe runs, the transmission, things like that. Looking pretty good and done in a nice black colour, so if you can see the underside wherever you display it, you don't have a bright underframe shining up at you. The interior of these buses is very, very good. As you can see, there's a representation of the seat maquette, the orange, yellow and black and brown maquette that first appeared on the District Line D78 trains and is modelled quite well in here. Got the individual seat back grab rails done in wire, as you can see. Staircase handrails and things like that. The only criticism is that some of the handrails, the floor to ceiling ones, are a bit too thin. As you can see, they're quite spindly. But all in all, it's very good. Just about seeing there, you've got a representation of the Treadmaster flooring, the back staircase done nicely. And all in all, it's very good. The colours are correct. Brown seat backs, a darker brown floor, things like that. So yeah, it's all very nice indeed. Now, I did mention earlier on that I'd struggle to do the pricing of this model, and the reason is that they don't come up for sale very often. It's very, very hard to gauge. This particular one, in the condition it's in now, cost me £79.99 plus £3.99 postage, so £84 basically, which sounds a lot, but for one of these it's very, very cheap, and that is why I bought it, because as you know, if you've watched any of my videos before, I never pay more than I need to. So I've had a quick look on the internet for various of these resin specialist models to see if there's any available for sale. There was one of the BEA AEC coaches for sale for £199.29. I think that included postage. The little Leyland Cubs, the London Leyland Cubs, are the cheapest ones normally. There was one available for £75 plus £3.50 postage. That was a green one. If you wanted a red one, £95.99 plus £4.99 postage. The only V3 that I could find for sale was, or had been, £203. It was an archive entry on one of the websites from a sale on eBay, but it had been £203. I believe postage was on top of that as well. So that's the kind of money you're looking at for one in pristine condition. But to give you some idea of what they can go to, there was a resin specialist Mancunian, one of the TTC diecast commissioned ones that sold recently on eBay for £860. So, you know, it just shows you what kind of price you can go up to sometimes. It just depends. It's the luck of the draw, really, whether you get one for a reasonable price or not. I think some of the Irish models tend to retail for about 300 and something. So, you know, they are quite pricey. And that's why I paid £84 for one and thought I'd got a bargain. They do have limited edition certificates, but I haven't got the one for this because it came in the wrong box. But they're attached to the box, as you can see there. So the box that I got with this model, sorry, I'll just try and get, that's it, a bit better lighting on it. The box I got with this model was for a London Transport front entrance Routemaster. And as you can see, the limited edition certificate is actually a plaque that's attached to the box. So I've got the certificate for the Routemaster, but not for the Ailsa that I've actually bought. The boxes themselves look like this. Again, this is from the front entrance Routemaster, but it shows you the kind of box that they come in. Pretty much bomb-proof. They're really, really substantial boxes. So let's have a quick look at what I need to do to this bus to try and make it display case ready. As you can see, it's got no mirrors. I think it had mirrors when it came. I might fit the mirrors, I might not bother. I don't always bother with them. Some of those things you don't always know that they're missing. The windscreen needs putting back in. Obviously that's just here, so that's not a problem. The windows need refitting. Most of the windows that are missing are actually in that little pack that I showed you that they came with it. This front window has been replaced by somebody, but it doesn't quite fit, so again that needs taking off and trimming so it fits in the aperture a bit better. In fact, I'll probably redo it because it's got a bit of glue on it as well, so been a good opportunity to redo it. Obviously the door needs sticking back in, that's in that little pack that I showed you earlier on, and the back panel needs to be reattached, again that's in there, that's not a problem. And there's a window missing on the offside upper there at the back. I don't think that one's in the pack, so I'll have to try and make a new window for that. And the little driver's cab side window is missing there as well. I think that's in there, I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, it needs the windows putting back in basically. I might, whilst I'm painting it, take the opportunity, while I'm working on it, should I say, take the opportunity to paint it and just do it into Black Prince livery. But I might not. I'll just see when I get going on it. It'll take its place in the queue for the time being. But yeah, so that's a look at this one. As I say, hopefully it's part 1 of 2, and hopefully part 2 will show the restored model in all its glory. But we'll see how it goes. But for now, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.